What's up, everybody? It's Jared with Capture the Magic, and with Epic Universe open, a lot of people have been wondering, how is Epic Universe going to impact the overall attendance and revenue for Universal Studios? And we have our answer as Comcast had their latest earnings call, and it is very positive. So we're going to go through these numbers, what Epic Universe is doing for Universal, and also how the Disney crowd is kind of handling this, as there's an article from Blog Mickey that I think is very interesting in the way that they're trying to frame this in a certain light compared to perhaps, say, how they report on the Disney earning call numbers and really no framing of that. So we're going to take a look at that and I find it rather interesting more than anything. But we're going to take a look first here at Travel Weekly. And it says, Epic Universe spurs double-digit growth for Comcast in Q2. It says Epic Universe is driving higher spending and attendance throughout the Universal Orlando Resort following its May opening. Executives from parent company Comcast said Thursday on an earnings call. The park drove a 19% increase in revenue for theme parks at Comcast, totaling $2.35 billion. Adjusted earnings before interest, taxation, depreciation, and amortization was up 4%, limited due to soft opening costs, CFO Jason Armstrong said. Says, we are extremely proud of the successful opening of Epic Universe in May, said Comcast President Mike Cavanaugh. We're pleased with the early results as Epic is already driving higher per cap spending and attendance across the entirety of Universal Orlando Resort with strong food and merchandise sales and minimal impact on attendance at Universal Studios Florida and Islands of Adventure. So I think what he's addressing there when he says minimal impact on attendance at Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure was the worry that a lot of people said that Epic Universe was going to cannibalize attendance from the existing Universal parks. And Mike Cavanaugh basically here is saying that that has not happened and is not happening currently. According to Cavanaugh, Universal's near-term focus is on expanding ride throughput to get guests onto attractions more quickly. That will help Universal shed the capacity constraints initially placed on Epic. It says Universal's ticketing strategy for the park was designed to manage capacity. That is something that many of the Disney outlets either don't understand or being willfully playing dumb on that. But the ticketing strategy was clearly a way to manage capacity without going into, say, a park reservation system or some other type of system that would be very cumbersome on the guest in many ways. Armstrong said he expects the park to increase attendance as the year goes on, with significantly improved operating leverage. So I think you could read into that and just say they're anticipating these rides becoming more reliable, working on moving more people through them per hour. We also do know they have a permit to do some sort of construction near Celestial Park that could help with that as well. So I think that's kind of what they're referring to right there. It says, we're happy with the consumer response, said the CFO. We're pleased with how Epic is contributing to the overall Universal Orlando guest experience and performance. Cavanaugh noted that both Universal and its main competitor in the Orlando market, Disney, continue to invest heavily in their parks, which should benefit the entire market. In the second quarter, Universal's international parks performed strongly in the quarter, but Universal Hollywood faced pressures, Armstrong said. So obviously, those are very good numbers for Universal Studios, almost 20% increase in revenue. And they didn't mention this in the article, but that only counted the first month of Epic being open that went into this quarterly earnings here. But these numbers also include the previews that were going on as well. So those are very promising numbers. I'm sure Universal is very happy to see that. And I'm sure that also means that you've got increased attendance and revenue for Universal Studios. So obviously, you look at those earnings, almost 20% increase in revenue. Epic Universe obviously has an impact for Universal Studios. They're not seeing an impact on the existing attendance at the Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure parks. All good things for Universal. So you would assume that this would, it'd be really difficult to read any negativity into this earnings report and enter Blog Mickey. So they have an article here talking about the Comcast earnings report. And then they even put in the headline, revenue boost and some challenges ahead. So we're already foreshadowing some challenges here instead of just talking about the earnings report. So they actually started out not giving you the numbers. They actually started out with commentary. So they say, earnings call insight into Epic Universe opening and expectations. Overall, executives presented the grand opening of Universal Epic Universe in a positive light, as you'd imagine. One would assume with 19% increase in revenue. The theme park is a major accomplishment for Universal Orlando Resort and something that tips the scales a bit when tourists consider an upcoming vacation to the Central Florida area. I have a feeling there's a but coming. A bit of commentary, though, before we dive into the specifics. So we want you to feel a certain way about these numbers before we present these to you. We're fans of Epic Universe. It is the best theme park at Universal Orlando Resort, and a theme park we'd be spending way more time in if an annual pass was offered. From high-tech and immersive rides to some of the best dining you can find in a theme park to world-class theming, Epic Universe is a winner. That said, there are hurdles for the theme park. Wait, I thought we were talking about earnings call. Now we're already talking about hurdles. In terms of visitation, Universal has been exceedingly disciplined in its ticketing strategy. In short, Universal went with a ticketing strategy that introduced just enough friction to create a sort of soft capacity for the theme park. Correct. No, Epic Universe isn't hitting capacity or full, but ticketing products are frankly anti-consumer in a way that makes multiple visits or even a single visit frustrating. That's kind of the point of the ticketing strategy, is to limit the capacity, not by having a park reservation system, but by having this type of ticketing strategy that instead of having this demand you can't meet, they've simply gone this route of using this ticketing strategy to help kind of manage the demand and the capacity of the park. All of this is on purpose. We've talked about this multiple times. They've even talked about this multiple times. Even with ticketing friction, Universal is seeing an estimated attendance of some 14,000 to 21,000 guests per day. That's not a terrible number, especially during the opening months, but it's not where Universal needs to be. Says who? So if we're looking at this, I know for a fact, and I don't know if Blog Mickey doesn't know this or they just don't want to mention it, but I know for a fact there is a park cap for the attendance on this park. It's about 22,000 guests per day. Now, Blog Mickey has talked about in numerous articles how there is no capacity here. There's not as much demand. They even had an article talking about Epic Universe is stagnant. And their whole basis of that is that there is no park limit on here and nobody wants to, essentially people aren't wanting to come here like they thought. I've talked to people at Universal. They're just not showing that park cap on that ticket data that's been out there. They have an internal cap, again, which is about 22,000 guests per day. And this park is 2 months old. I don't really know, like, where do they need to be? Where are they supposed to be on this? Because if you add in annual pass holders to this, which we talked about this before, 14,000 to 21,000 guests per day, if you added in annual pass holders in there, you're already past Animal Kingdom. Like, you're probably getting closer to 30,000 guests per day, which that park right now can't handle, which is why you don't have annual pass option quite yet, and why they still have this ticketing strategy they're using. It makes a lot of sense. If you have demand for a product that right now people are wanting to come here, but you have high wait times, there's an issue with, people don't want to wait 3 hours for rides. So instead of allowing more people to come in and to have bad experiences, they're going the other route and limiting the amount of people they allow to come in to hopefully allow those people to enjoy the park, have a good experience, and want to come back. So they're trying to manage demand with what they feel is a good amount of people to have in this park to still have a good experience, but they're not wanting to go full tilt and go 30, 40,000 people in this park, because then that would probably be quite a mess as this current state of the park is. But this is also a very known thing. Executives sort of hinted at the soft capacity, noting that they are working on ramping up operations. They're hinting at the soft capacity because they have one. They have a capacity limit on this park. On the earnings call, executives used the term operating leverage. I think that is referring to operational efficiency of attractions, ride reliability, and the current soft capacity ticketing strategy at play. I just want to remind everybody, they haven't gone into the numbers at all yet, and they're already talking about things that were said during the earnings call. I'll show an example of how they treat a Universal earnings call versus a Disney one, and there's quite a difference. Okay, with the commentary context out of the way, let's dive into the financials and some quotes from Universal execs. In terms of top-line revenue for the theme park segment of the content and experiences division, Comcast reported an 18.9%. You just couldn't go to 19% like everybody else did. Critically, Kavanaugh said that Epic Universe had a minimal impact on attendance at Universal Studios Florida and Islands of Adventure. Some commentary on this, so we have more commentary. I would say that this is minimal impact on the existing theme parks is certainly propped up by the ticketing strategy currently at play. This is another reason why they did this ticketing strategy, because it's very obvious why they're doing the ticketing strategy that they're doing for the opening of this park. But in continuing the articles, Blog Mickey plays this off as if this is like just a mystery as to why they're doing this. While you can purchase a one-day ticket to Epic Universe, early ticket offerings bundled a day at Epic Universe with multiple days at the existing parks. Yes, and this is why they did that. One of the reasons they did this is to not eat into the attendance at the existing parks, which worked. and they had 19% increase in revenue. So it's working. So I don't understand what what point they're trying to make. As ticket offers continue to evolve to make it easier for guests to, so we're back to commentary, to focus on their vacation only on Epic Universe, it is possible that we see more of an attendance impact at Universal's existing theme parks. I think that Universal Studios Florida is a particular risk of getting hit. So now we're going into potential scenarios of what might happen. Might be getting hit with lower attendance outside of the still very popular Halloween Horror Night special event. Something to keep an eye on once Universal rolls out new ticket types for Epic Universe. They're not going to do that until next year. We're already back into hypotheticals here. Top concern. Oh, we're getting into concerns now. Epic Universe ride reliability. Everybody that has been following this understands that this is an issue with any new theme park that is going to open or new land, but okay. One of the speed bumps that Kavanaugh noted was that the ride reliability. That said, Kavanaugh indicated that ride reliability was an expected concern. As expected, our near-term focus is expanding ride throughput to reduce early attendance constraints. Yes. Looking at the downtime figures via Thrill data, we can see that a number of attractions are experiencing some significant average daily downtime. Why are we talking about this? I'm thoroughly confused as to why we're spending a ton of this article here instead of just talking about clearly what Universal did with Epic Universe and their opening strategy and the ticketing strategy seems to be working, as they had a 19% increase in their revenue. But instead, we're going back into things that were already known about, which is a new park is going to have issues with new rides. This is not anything breaking news. This is not anything that's, oh my gosh, I didn't expect this. Everybody expected this. And we go into the average wait times here. It sounds like ride reliability is one of the top concerns for the Epic Universe team right now, and the number one reason that more ticket types and deals haven't been rolled out. Okay. So they have the ticketing strategy here, partially to not impact the attendance at the other parks, partially to manage the capacity and the attendance to this park. And then they're on here saying, well, the number one reason that more ticket types and deals haven't been rolled out is because of the ride reliability. Of course it is. But if they were to just open this wide up to maximum capacity here, and there's even more times with wait time issues, they would be criticizing them for this. Like, they're obviously doing this on purpose because they have understood, and anybody that knows anything about theme parks understands, a new theme park, new ride, whatever, is going to have a time period of working through the issues of these rides. It's a very known thing. I mean, Kavanaugh has mentioned it numerous times. So that said, Kavanaugh was quick to note that Epic is trending in line with our expectations and well on its way to transforming Universal Orlando into a true week-long destination. Armstrong said that Universal expects Epic Universe to continue to scale over the course of the year. He said that Universal is forecasting higher attendance and per caps, as well as significantly improved operating leverage. This is particularly encouraging, we have more commentary, to hear because at this point, higher attendance can only be accomplished in one of two ways, either more one-day ticket allocation or new ticket types. We'd love to see some true multi-day options or reopening up park hopping. They already announced they're doing park hopping in 2026. They're not going to do it in 2025. Of course, the biggest news will be when Universal decides to offer an annual pass product for Epic Universe. In the interest of continuing to try and squeeze every drop of juice out of Epic Universe, we would expect to see an expensive 4-park annual pass first, followed by a more popular 3-park option that would leave out Volcano Bay. Right. They don't want higher attendance at the moment because of the wait times here. Like, they're trying to balance guest satisfaction with making money. And I actually think Universal is going about this pretty moderately, considering they could go the other way and allow way more guests in this park, these wait times to really balloon up, and be much more short-term focused on profits. They probably would have had a bigger revenue quarter. It would have been well over 19% if they would have gone this route. I actually think Universal is being pretty smart with this, being pretty reserved in what they're doing, trying to balance us out. And as this park gets much more reliable in its operations, they feel like they can add more capacity to this park, and they will slowly do that. I think it's a pretty reasonable thing that they're doing here, but Blog Mickey they're acting as if this is all like breaking news. Like, this is all stuff that like anybody that follows theme parks would understand. It sounds like there is some question of timing as to when these changes will occur. Right, because they don't even know. All of this is literally, I know this from talking to some people at Universal. They're getting data back on a daily and weekly basis and adjusting some of the park capacity to that. Like, they are literally getting data back and making park changes based on current data they're getting. So yeah, they don't know when these things are going to be up there, like when they're going to bump the capacity up. The only thing we do know for certain is that in 2026, you have more ticket options that have opened, and Park Hopper will be available in 2026 on all ticket packages. We do know that much, but we just don't know anything on the rest of 2025, which I don't expect there to be really any changes in Universal's ticket options this year unless they make some pretty significant breakthroughs, which is possible. But they're also not going to promise that and not hit that. So at this point, they're just not making any promises on this and just saying we're going to adjust this as time goes on. I think that's fairly reasonable. Epic Universe has some built-in challenges when it comes to operating leverage, such as the fact that so many attractions are indoors. Again, this has been talked about numerous times. In reality, Universal needs to add some indoor and lower tier attractions to Epic Universe lineup, but that is likely years and years away. In the meantime, increasing ride reliability is the fastest way to increasing attendance and more appealing ticket options.
You don't say.
Overall, it sounds like Comcast is pleased with how Epic Universe is performing. You would think maybe with 19% increase in revenue after just 1 month of reporting for it. Yeah, I would say they're probably pretty pleased. I don't know why they wouldn't be. There are some challenges ahead, though, with ride reliability and rolling out new ticket types, but Epic should position Universal well to compete with Disney in the coming years. So you got all that. Look how long this article is. And instead of just giving you the Comcast numbers, we have to go into a bunch of commentary before we even get to the numbers, blah, blah, blah. Here is their article on the latest Disney earnings call they had back in May. They go into the numbers, the specific numbers, and that's it. No commentary, no explaining, no, well, there are challenges ahead. Disney's got a lot of discounts coming up. Epic Universe is opening this summer. These things could impact Disney. None of that. You just simply just have the numbers, and that's it. So again, I'm bringing this up. I like Blog Mickey for the most part. I use a lot of their articles for videos. I understand they are Blog Mickey. They are going to be Disney centric, which is fine. Do whatever you want to do, but also don't act as if you're not being partisan in this. Because clearly, I think from looking at this article, I'm not saying they don't like Epic Universe, but I think that they ultimately are just rooting for Disney. Because when you break this stuff down, it says all you have to do is report the numbers. Everybody understands the challenges that are there for Epic Universe as this park is barely 2 months old. Like nobody that knows anything about theme parks was expecting Epic Universe to open day one with 50,000 guests, all these rides running without issue and nothing to work through. Like that's not a reasonable assumption about any brand new theme park. So basically at the end of the day, on the earnings call for this, they have a 19% increase in their revenue after 1 month of reporting for Epic Universe. That's a great thing for Universal. And yes, there are challenges with a brand new park opening, which they had even admitted in the earnings report. Like it's not like they're hiding this and acting like that they have no problems. They openly said, hey, we still have some operating issues here. We're working through them. The capacity of this park is going to continue to grow as we work through these issues. I'm not one to trust giant corporations, but I think from an earnings standpoint and what they said on an earnings call, it's pretty fair. I don't see anything that they're saying in their earnings call that is deceiving in any way. So like I said, I'm not surprised to see a Disney-centric website have a pro-Disney tilt to them by any means. It's just the guise of if we're going to present this information unbiased. And many times this is why I've thought about starting a website that reports the news that just gives you the straight news and no commentary. And like I can give commentary on this channel, but like having actual articles that are just like, here is the information, take that for what you will. Like good or bad, let the reader decide. And it seems to me that this is obviously a very good earnings call for Universal and Comcast, as I think their stock trading was up like 5 or 6% off of this earnings call. And they had to frame it. They wanted the reader to have a certain mindset going into hearing about these numbers. But even with all the challenges they bring up, to me, that's still like insanely a positive thing for Universal. With all these challenges that come with a brand new theme park, you still had almost a 20% increase in your revenue. That is a win. There's no way to act like that's not a win. And with all the issues with Epic Universe, this is even better, to be honest. Like if you can't even get this park quite yet, barely above 20,000 guests per day, and you've already seen, almost 20% increase in your revenue from that. Just imagine what this is going to be when they have, they get this park where you can have 40,000 plus guests in this park per day. And I think you're going to see a lot of this if Epic Universe continues to grow and get better and Universal gains more market share, which is very likely to happen going off of this earnings call, that's not going to be a shocker if we see, Universal eat up more market share, that you're going to start seeing the pro-Disney crowd start trying to, chip away at Epic Universe in many ways. And I'm not saying Epic Universe doesn't have its challenges. I've openly talked about it has its challenges, but they bring them up as if they're groundbreaking and, oh my gosh, this is going to be, if they don't change this is terrible. Well, why would they change it if they already saw a 20% increase in revenue? Like, there's no catalyst, there's no reason for them to be changing it. If Universal saw a decrease or no impact from Epic Universe, that would be a cause for concern. Maybe then you would start questioning what you're doing. But I think off of this earnings call, it's hard to make a case that Universal needs to change what they're doing in the short term while they're still getting this park ironed out. And I said before this park even opened, you're probably looking at least 6 months that you need to give this park to really start working through these issues before they start really ramping up the park capacity. And I still hold by that. I think by 6 months, more than likely, you will start seeing the daily park capacity climb and climb and climb. I don't think, like Blog Mickey said, I don't think you're talking years and years before you see some new things coming to Epic Universe, as we already know that there are permits out there for a new thing to be built outside of Celestial Park. So they're already doing things to address the park capacity issues here and the wait times. They're already actively doing that before they even get to new lands and rides, which I think they'll also do rather quickly as well. If they're already seeing a 20% increase in revenue from Epic Universe being open, and they're not even, they can't get this park capacity up where they want it quite yet, they have a ton of incentive to go ahead and greenlight some projects to try and, alleviate some of these wait time issues so they can get this capacity up. So I think going off this earnings report, you very likely could see them even go quicker with some of the things that they'll do, because they want to continue to see this park grow and they want this to be their flagship park. They want this to be their Magic Kingdom. And they're going to try and flush this park out, I think, as quickly as they can. And as I've said many times, Universal becoming stronger and doing more things and growing and getting more attendance and the revenue's growing, this is a good thing, even if you're just a Disney person that doesn't care about Universal, because these types of things is what forces Disney to build more things and do more things. This is the entire reason you are seeing construction at Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, and Magic Kingdom for these new lands they're building is a direct response to what Universal's doing. So even if you are pro-Disney, even if you're anti-Universal, Universal doing the things they're doing is giving you more things to do in the Disney parks. Ultimately, if you want more things in theme parks, if you want more cool experiences to do, more competition is what is going to bring that to the table. And Universal doing the things they're doing now and are going to continue to do is going to force Disney to be on their toes more. And so even if you are pro-Disney and you don't, if you've got a bent against Universal and you're trying to, placate the numbers as if it's not that great and all these things, I think that ultimately this is still a good thing even if you're pro-Disney. And I don't think you have to be pro-Disney, anti-Disney, or anything like that. I think you just objectively look at these things and just say, yeah, Comcast Universal had a really good quarter. Epic Universe Open looks like it's been pretty successful. I don't think that's hard to say. It's just like the last earnings call we talked about Disney. It's like, hey, people complain about the price hikes, people complain about the changes in the Disney parks, but they had a 6% increase in their revenue. It's hard to argue against it. You can still not like it, but it's hard to argue against the business of it when they're seeing increased revenues. Now, until they don't see that, and then they have to make changes, that's a different scenario, which could be the scenario you see in the next quarter. We'll have to wait and see on that. But this, to me, is how you should be viewing when you're talking about the, Disney versus Universal or whatever it is. And we'll find out fairly soon what this looks like for Disney during the same time period as Epic Universe and Universal, because their earnings call is going to be on August 6th. So when we find out that information, we will talk about it on here, see what it looks like, and be able to get a clearer picture of really, at least at the beginning part of the summer, how this is looking for both theme park destinations and potentially how this looks going into the rest of the year and going into next year as well. So either way, it's very exciting stuff. If you're into theme parks, I think more competition is great. And these two competing against each other is going to do nothing but give guests more things to do and ultimately getting more for your vacation dollar, which I think is a good thing for the consumer. So when Disney has that earnings call, we will talk about it on here. But until then, that is going to be it, though, for this video. So if you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel as we do all this coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, what do you think about all this? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.